doesn't exist a German way to say a German donkey is always jumping only 1 centimeters above the obstacle that is necessary.
I won't even start to try to translate that. Those are qualities of great football nations. That is qualities of great football teams.
It's not common that in Italy the team playing the best football is actually winning the title. It's best mix between a Guardiola's approach and a Klopp's approach.
Bayern is under pressure as well. The Champions League final is at home. They are desperate to get there.
Bayern have been plagued by all those injuries. At the same time, they have this unstoppable way to play offensively, especially when at home.
It was huge for him to win those 2 games against Leverkusen. The Leverkusen represented a turning point as such, but the test will be all the greater against Inter Milan now as well. Hi and welcome to the Fußball channel. I'm your host Markus Fjørtoft, and as always joined by co-host Jan Fjørtoft. We have another debutant on the show, so to speak, and that I thought it was only right for you to do the intro for our guest.
Well, first of all, the guy we got on, I've always trouble with it, to pronounce the name right. So for me, this is an Italian legend in journalism. I have met Tancredi. Is that right, Tancredi?
Of course, but someone who's called the Fjørtoft can't have an issue in pronouncing my name. Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. But we met on different stadiums the last 20 years, I feel. We also had a great time in Rio de Janeiro under the Olympics, indeed, when we played with the global team Global World, and we played against the Brazilian in Copacabana. So we go way back, but we have you here because we would love to speak about Inter against Bayern. And Marcus, before you start to host and talk with our Italian legendo, I think that we will have a feeling, I got a feeling that he will think that Bayern will win, and I will think that Inter will win. So this is going to be interesting. Over to you, Marcus.
By the way, Jan, the very first time we met, even though you didn't realize that, it was when I was 13 and I was doing my USA 94 Panini stickers collection, and I had my Norge team that was all completed, and I had the Janag Fjørtoft sticker there, just in between, let me remember, it was just in between, I think, Jostein Flo, and I don't remember which one was the other one. But anyway, I had your Panini sticker, and I was training when I was 13, reading the Norwegian surname, saying, this is impossible to pronounce. Who would have ever known that 31 years later, himself in person, in podcast, would say, can I pronounce your name? Unbelievable. Life is unbelievable.
I love that, Tancredi, and I appreciate you taking the time. And what we thought we'd do is a little review or preview, so to speak, of Inter against Bayern Munich. We obviously cover German football. You have your pulse on European football, Italian football alike. And we are pretty curious about how this will match up. Bayern Munich experiencing a resurgence, so to speak, under Conte. In a way, there's a lot of optimism brewing, but then they had their injuries. Inter Milan, leading Serie A, had a very impressive Champions League campaign, only lost once to Bayer Leverkusen, conceded only once as well. But let's just get the feelers out in terms of how you feel like this game will, or these 2 legs will develop. What are you expecting from these 2 games?
I think that the biggest, it's not a surprise how Inter is well performing, because they are coming from a long way in that way under Simone Inzaghi. Last year they won finally the title by a landslide. It was not only that, it was that their display of football was impressive. The way they played was fantastic. If you look at that, it's not common that in Italy the team playing the best football is actually winning the title. Now, it has happened in the last 2 years with Inter and Napoli, but before that it was never like every time was like, okay, that team is the strongest, but another one is playing better. I think we have to go, I don't know, way back to Juventus of Antonio Conte or something like that. But anyway, it's not common. But it's not only that they played the best football, and also what means best football is something very aleatory sometimes to explain. But if you look around, many international observers, and I take that because otherwise it would look like, okay, you say that because you're Italian, so you are promoting the Italian product. But if you look around, many international observers, ex-players, pundits, the very late one on this was Thierry Henry, but really many have been praised the Simone Inzaghi style as something completely new, or anyway, as the best thing around in the last times. His positional football is a good mix between, to put it simple and short and easy, his best mix between a Guardiola's approach and a Klopp's approach. So vertical, but possession is unbelievable, I'd say, swapping position style with interchange. You see when you see these football analysts that do this thread about tactics, how many times it is stressed how the build-up is starting low, but is starting with a line of midfield that is backtracking on the line of defense, and the defenders actually are going up, and you see them in the line of midfield or picking, as it would be Dutch style, but Dutch of the 70s. So the mentality, the way they've been playing, and I have to say, has not only been that, because they have been smart enough to switch, even to be defensive when it was demanded, when it was worth, for example, against Arsenal, to name one. But the way they've been playing, so it's not a surprise, the mentality, because they won the title, but last year, but in the last 3 years, they won 7 titles, only 1 Italian league, but then they had the Italian Cup, Super Cup. They went to the Champions League final, and that was a super boost of mentality. If you remember that Manchester City Inter, in the end, it looked like City won because they had to, meaning like they were coming from such a long way with Guardiola that finally it had to happen. But in those 90 minutes, actually was Inter who had, as if we would be in box, we would say at the judges, probably had higher ratings from judges than Manchester City. So it has been this combo of all these things. So it didn't come as a surprise, the great European campaign they did, and the fact that they go out there and they perform with mentality, especially when they play abroad, than when they play away. Still, though, it's a very sensitive moment, because this April is super stuffed for Inter, 9 games in 28 days. They are in a super tight Serie A Scudetto race, while Bayern already won the Bundesliga title. Inter is point by point with Napoli that is trained by Antonio Conte, and Antonio Conte is a hound dog, is just breathing on your neck and is not letting you breathe out. So they feel that fatigue of being point by point in that title race. They are in the Coppa Italia race as well, and it's not something they can't give up, because the semi-final against Milan, so that is putting high pressure. And the thing is that they have some sensitive injuries. Now, I know that talking about injuries in front of Bayern in this moment seems like a lack of respect. The thing is that, for example, Inter will miss for sure in the first leg against Bayern Denzel Dumfries. Now, you would say, okay, you have other options, but Dumfries is something like a unique piece in Inter. Mm-hmm. He's the only player, maybe with Thuram, but the only player that can create superiority in terms of numbers of men up front. So he's the one that is going in the space and is giving the chance to switch from 3-5-2 to 3-4-3, but with someone actually with a fullback that actually is playing as external winger up front with Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram. Then Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram are dealing with having a balance with their injuries. All in all, not complaining, but I feel that even though Bayern have been plagued by all those injuries, at the same time, they have this unstoppable way to play offensively, especially when at home, that is very hard to take for anybody.
Do you share that, Tancredi's sentiment when it comes to Bayern's powerhouse approach, so to speak? We've obviously seen them, and we've seen different versions of Bayern, but in Europe, and what they've showcased, especially against Leverkusen, it makes you more optimistic than you would have perhaps been from earlier on in the European campaign.
Yeah, well, I understand where Tancredi is coming from. I like his analysis, what he's saying, but I think we have to put it into perspective that what's been said about the way that Inzaghi tries to play. I mean, it's no secret that I love the way. I'm a bit Italian in my approach to football, but with a mixture, as Tancredi is talking about, because I'm very impressed by Inter. I'm so old that even nearly before you guys were born, I am so old that I played against Inter. I played against an Inter team with Matthäus Bremer and Klinsmann back in the days, and Bergomi eating me for breakfast, and I ate him back and spit him out. So I've been seeing this team, and I love the way they have a balance in their team. And I think also Tancredi is talking about these are two great football nations. Now we first have the first encounter that was between Germany and Italy. Now is Bayern against Inter. But I do think when you have a Thuram, when you have a Martinez, and you have Arnautovic that can always do something funny, and Austrian playing against a German team, watch out, Bayern. And also, Marcus, that we know that Bayern, which Bayern team will we see? Are we seeing the Bayern team that knocked out Leverkusen? By the way, Arminia Bielefeld, when we are recording this, yesterday knocked out Leverkusen. So Tancredi, I'm taking away 1 point for you. It's not very important. It's not very difficult. But I think that because the mixture and Simone Inzaghi is so good to find that balance, I think that he can trick Bayern out. Would I have said that with all the injuries? No, probably not so convincingly. But I see when you have Upamecano, when you have Davis, do you have Ito, you have so many players out there that it's risky. Not underestimate that Neuer probably, not likely, won't be in the goal. Übrig, a great talent of football, but it's something to go from Cologne, playing some games for Bayern, to be in the quarterfinal against mighty Inter. And I think that Tancredi is coming from a point that where he is not very self-confident of Italian football. I think the rest of us, now I know that you love your football, but the rest of us, we love it.
It's true that there is an issue with personality in this moment for Italian football. At the same time, though, I'm not putting this Inter on the same level of Italian football. Because at the moment, really, Simone Inzaghi came from a long way, and we have seen him playing. Look, people don't remember the campaign the year before the Champions League final, but Simone Inzaghi went out there in Madrid, in Bernabeu, and in Anfield Road, in Liverpool, in the round of 16, winning 1-0, and then when he went up 1 goal, Alexis Sanchez was sent off and the red card. He played better than Real Madrid at their home and better than Liverpool at their home. But the experience, probably, and the mentality, was still missing something. And so he couldn't accomplish the mission. But the things were already there. So it's not that I'm not confident in Inter. It's different from the rest of Italian personnel, or Italian football. In this moment, it's lacking personality. Not about that. But Bayern at home, it is really an army hard to stop when the game gets tough. When the game gets tough, because I know we can find other examples in this season where, oh, look, they actually should have performed better. But Bayern at home, when it is knockout stage, could seal already the mission. And also, there is one thing which is to keep in mind. it is 15 years, Ian. I know that history don't play games, okay? Previous games don't go on the pitch, but I'm talking as about the mentality of the players, the single players approaching the game. It is 15 years that Inter have not been able to reverse the odds in a Champions League tie. Even if they got to the Champions League final, all in all, in knockout stage, they had a Champions League tie. I'm talking about, obviously, knockout stage. They had Porto, Benfica, and Milan. Super tough. The derby also, as you can imagine. Porto, super tough. But all in all, Inter, slightly or more, always had the favor of the odds. Last year was leveled against Atletico, and they lost at penalties. They lost to Manchester City, and we have to go way back to the semi-final in 2010 when they won the Champions League, when they eliminated Guardiola's Barcelona with Messi, Ibrahimovic, to find the last tie where they actually reversed the odds. Why am I saying this? Because anyway, and you as a ex-player can explain that even better, there is a kind of, seem to me, easy way for the brain to accept or not accept the defeat. That is like a Pavlov instinct reaction when you're playing games, that it helps you to win the games or to win not the games. And that thing maybe will happen now, but that thing still Inter has to prove.
Yeah, Marcus, I'll just, before you, Marcus, conclude this, I just want to say, it's a fair point. Stats are important because you have to win over a culture, because they get into your mind. That is true. But I also think that the Italian, they will see the same that we've seen this season, that if you see they lost against, was it PSV? No, Feyenoord, sorry. They lost against Barcelona. They lost against Leverkusen. I would say that they had 1.5 game great Bayern this season. And that is not disrespect to Bayern, because I love Bayern, I rate Bayern, and I like the way company will now take the trophy back to Munich. But Marcus, I think that they've seen the same as we've seen. They are vulnerable. And I've seen Inter. I've got the highest respect for Inter. I was at the Champions League final. City gotta count themselves a bit lucky. Did I say they didn't deserve to win the Champions League final? No, but I can remember Lukaku. I can remember a lot of that in that final. So I think this is going to be a tight game. So absolutely, but I have the highest respect for Inter to find a way. And I think that these injuries that will kind of kill Bayern, and it's fair enough. It's going to be hard at Allianz, but also, Tancredi, is that Bayern is under pressure as well. The Champions League final is at home. They are desperate to get there. So let's see, Marcus.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Marcus, because Please. You live in Germany now, right?
Well, London, but we lived in Germany back in the day.
Sorry, okay. You both lived in Germany. Yeah. Doesn't exist a way to say, a German friend taught me that, doesn't exist a German way to say that it is a German donkey is always jumping only 1 centimeter above the obstacle that is necessary. Doesn't exist something like that?
But I think I won't even start to try to translate that. But you're right. But I think that those are qualities of great football nations. That is qualities of great football teams. When Inter go away, they win 1-0. Okay, but the home team had a lot of chances. Manchester United did the same under Sir Alex Ferguson. Bayern Munich, when they have to win against St. Pauli after Leverkusen won the day before, they'll win that game. Leroy Sané score his 2 goals. Canet do the same thing.
Canet is a nice little twist to that.
Yeah, Canet, yeah, okay, Canet and Sané. Now, Marcus, over to you.
No, I mean, we are running towards the end here, but to conclude, we obviously know that this will be a tight match, and we also know that there will be some interesting matchups between players. Obviously, we have a Jan Sommer and a Benjamin Pavard who have spent their time at Bayern. We also know without an Upamecano, you have an Eric Dyer in there who will be tested against the likes of a Thuram, a Martinez. And the point has been made. This is a huge test for not only Bayern, but it's for Vincent Kompany. It was huge for him to win those 2 games against Leverkusen. They were question marks related to the performances against the big teams. The Leverkusen represented a turning point as such, but the test will be all the greater against Inter Milan now as well, and that could go both ways for Kompany, for Bayern, and the same way it could go for Inter, as Tancredi, you make the point in terms of lifting the curse, so to speak, of getting past that last hurdle.
There is one thing I want to know before we go. Jan, you mentioned a game against Inter. Which one that was that you played?
I played against the year they won the UEFA Cup. I was a young player for Rapid Vienna, and they ended up winning. Yeah, they're winning.
You won 2-1 in Prater, and Inter won 3-1 in Verona at extra time because Milan.
And the referee was a catastrophe. The referee had the biggest bag of lire dollar. We played 11 against 9.
The our vice was amazing from Inter.
I was to be fair, I had 2 good games, and I played against Bergamo in these 2 games. I was 22 years of age, I think, and I played against the mighty Mandeka, the man-to-man Bergamo. It was great. I always, when I see Lothar Matthäus, I always say, you cheated us. Our vice president, when we played 11 against 9, they sent 2 players of us. He went into the referee's room and said, I'm looking for your bag with the money, and he was and he was suspended. He was suspended for a year after that game.
Serious? Fantastic.
So unfortunately, we didn't play in San Siro because the stadium was it was the rehabilitation. So now
you played in Verona, and
exactly.
It was Inter comeback 3-1, and actually the unbelievable thing was that in that UEFA Cup that Inter won, they always had comeback in the return leg in the first leg. So they did it against you.
They always had a referee.
Okay, so my promise, are you coming to San Siro, to this San Siro I have in hands? Are you coming to San Siro for Inter Bayern?
Unfortunately not. I'll be in the studio.
Because there will be Beppe Bergomi there at the stadium. So I was looking for this meeting, this comeback again.
I have met Bergomi many times afterwards, because in the game in Verona before, Marcus, I know we go over the time now, but Bergomi, in the first minute, I played well in the home game. We won 2-1, a goal not given. I hit the bar. I have the shirt of Walter Zenga at home, the goalkeeper of Inter. So this is 100% true story. We played the game in Verona. There is the kickoff. And he's coming over to me, Bergomi, and takes me here. He takes me here. The ball is in the other side, and he put me down, and he makes me a wound here in my throat. And I was thinking, I'm 22. I come from a small village of Norway, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on here? So I was running over to him and took his ears. I took his ears, and I put him down on his knees. And then it was 1-1, and the game could start.
Fantastic.
Okay. But thank you very much. Grazie. And I look forward to see you again. Thank you.
Cheers.
Grazie.